Going live. Wait for it.
You introducing Yanni?
Yep.
Hey, we're live.
What's up, everybody? We're on a little bit late this morning. It is 9:08 on Friday morning, the 14th of January. Welcome to the daily Q&A. In case we
What's
haven't
up,
met, my
tribe?
name is Yanni Burmeister, and to my left, your right, is my brother Rad Burmeister. Below us is Richard the Rig Lellies. We are Unity Gym, the unified movement system where we teach driven people how to become strong, flexible, and fit athletes. Now, today we are taking a deep dive into protein and dietary protein consumption. Before we do that, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm just going to refresh my page, make sure we can see the stream, which I can. Smash that like button and let us know who you are and where you're tuning in from. Shout out to Lisa Omby. Welcome. And anyone else around the world, let us know who you are, where you're tuning in from. Getting the Facebook stream up as well. Here we are.
We're definitely on.
How are you boys? Richard, Rad?
Yeah, good. Very good.
Good.
Ready for action.
Back here talking about protein again. My favorite
Protein,
topic.
that's right. Absolutely. And this is so we had a post in our where was the talk?
It was on the UMS Movement Mastermind.
Okay. In the UMS Movement Mastermind group. Sorry, I just had sound coming in my ears and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. All right, rock and roll. So protein is one of those parts of the diet that a lot of people get really messed up on and stumble on. And it can, I think, be the make or break of your diet. Because there are a few, I don't know if I dare call them rules around protein, principles, key elements to a healthy diet that I think stay true. It doesn't really matter who you talk to. When you're exercising a lot, when you're training for performance, there's very few people that I've ever met that will debate that protein becomes the backbone of your diet. And there are a few cool things that happen around that the sort of hidden benefits because protein raises the thermal effect of your food, which requires more energy to metabolize. So you actually sort of burn a little bit more energy when you're eating on a high protein diet. You know, recently the CSIRO here in Australia reported and published their study of 22,000 people on their better health or better well-being diet, which is a high protein, sort of lower carbohydrate diet, not zero carb or anything like that. It's not like keto, but or paleo, I guess, but it's still moderately low carbohydrate, high protein. The Mediterranean diet's a popularized diet, and we've sort of followed modified Mediterranean diets for quite a long time, which is slightly higher in protein still. And we certainly have adopted, the three of us, and teach our tribe that a higher protein diet we've found is definitely easier to maintain a healthy physique. And, you know, I think Richard would attest to this. I'm sure Rad would attest to this. We all tend to maintain what most people would call an impressive physique, 365 every day of the year. You know, last year things got a little bit, slippery for me, but it was only because of the introduction of excessive alcohol consumption, which became, I won't go down that rabbit hole today, but for a myriad of personal reasons. And of course, you're adding a crap load more calories to your diet. You're interfering with your sleep cycles. you're doing all these different things. It has a tendency to impact your training because you're not sleeping as well, and you're a bit hungover, whether you think you are or not. You always are. So yeah, that's why I put on a bit of weight. But other than that, we tend to maintain around a 10% body fat percentage and a lean and muscular physique. And you guys, please back me up here. Would you agree that we do that basically if we were to radically simplify things by building our nutrition around our diet consumption, our protein consumption?
100%.
Absolutely.
Yep.
100%. It just makes it so much easier. It's it's really funny that people are often asking for the the silver bullet when it comes to nutrition, and what's the one thing I can do, what's actually probably more accurate. People ask, can you just give me a done for you meal plan? Can you give me a meal plan that says exactly what I have to eat at this time? But we've done that before, and man, I did it on another level. When I say I've done that before, I spent 6 months creating custom meal plans from 1,000 calories a day right up to 2,400 calories a day in 100 calorie increments. So add that up, you got it right. I created 14 custom meal plans, Monday to Friday, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks in between, that were calorie controlled and also macronutrient balanced. It was so much work. It took me about 6 months of working about 3 or 4 hours a day because I had to do it on a website. This is well before calorie counting apps, so this is going back 10 or 12 years. I did it on a website called calorieking.com.au. That was what I used, wasn't it, Yanni? It was Calorie King.
Yep.
And
Yep, I've got it up right now. Man, that website's come a long way, by the way.
Calorie King was the gold standard in Australia. It's the
it still is. It's the gold standard all over the world. It's actually an American site, but they've created an Australian version.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's the gold standard. It's where they measure calories in food most accurately. So, and we did that, and we gave them to all of our members, and we did that for years. We had a massive trial with that process, and it didn't work. It just didn't. People didn't get the results that they wanted. Spoon feeding people, giving them that level of, you don't need to think about anything, didn't work, because it's this old saying of teach a man to fish. Give a man a fish, you feed him for one meal. Teach him to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And you weren't teaching anyone to fish, you were giving them that fish. And what works so much better is getting people to understand that every single meal that you do, you build around protein, every single meal. So the very first thing that you think of when you're going to eat is, what's my protein source? And when we eat this way, more often than not, people that don't understand this look at the kind of foods that we eat and go, oh God, that's a bit extreme. And my answer to that is, of course I don't say this, but if somebody wanted to go deeper into that, the answer that I would say is, well, how is it working out for you not being extreme and not eating this way? Because if you're carrying a few extra pounds consistently, if you're trying to diet seasonally to get back into shape for the shape that you lost over winter, then maybe you need to eat in a way that you would consider extreme. And what actually happens is, when you start to build your meals around protein, I wouldn't call it extreme at all. It's actually really simple. It's really, really easy. You have to do a little bit of practice to understand how do you get your minimum protein requirements, which is, and we're not talking about to live. We're not talking about to survive. You're going to survive just fine if you don't do this. But we're talking about thriving. We're talking about giving your body, like you do all this working out, and the goal of working out is to achieve an adaptation in your body. And a part of that adaptation should be to build or maintain lean muscle mass. If you're not training to some degree to build or maintain lean muscle mass, then there's a whole bunch of other problems, but that's another show. But then if you're doing all of that, then, why wouldn't you be eating to thrive? Why would you be eating just to survive? So let's just make that clarification. I'm not talking about this is what you need to do to live. This is what you need to do to thrive. And then, so then, you have to learn how to calculate 0.4 grams of protein per kilogram of weight, of body weight, so that you understand what that is in each meal. But once you've done that and you understand it, like Yanni, Richard, and me do.
Your mic's gone, Rad. I think you bumped it.
Brad, your mic's gone.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yep, sure
Yeah,
can.
now I
Can you hear
can.
me?
Yep.
Okay. So once you understand that, once you get that understanding of this is how much protein my body requires to thrive per meal, then you just think, okay, what am I going to eat? I'm going to eat this protein source, and then I'm going to have that to go with it. And then, it goes a little bit deeper with, how do you balance carbohydrates and veggies and things like that. But it actually becomes really, really easy. And when you eat that way, and you also because when you start eating that way, you start avoiding processed foods kind of by default, don't you, boys? Like, there's only so much you
Well,
can fit
this
on a
is the
plate, right?
Mm.
okay. This is the
And
thing,
if
and
you,
I'm going
and
to
if
do
you,
this. Oh, sorry,
you
you
know, I
go
was
on.
going to say, if you're fitting protein on your plate, like when you've got that, 150 grams of red meat or 160, 180 grams of white meat, or your 6 eggs or whatever it is that people our size require to optimize protein synthesis. There's not a lot of room on that plate for other food. So, you end up having a little bit of vegetables and whatever, and you can't really fit any crap in. Like, there's just no room in your stomach for it.
Yeah. So what the easiest way, and this is the way that we are teaching it in the peak performance diet, which is one of our latest UMS programs, is that there's surviving and thriving, and the 0.4 grams times your body weight gives you a per serve dose for surviving. That's actually what you need just to meet your required dietary protein intake to maintain your muscle mass, and to stay healthy. But if you hang out in bodybuilding circles, they would argue that that's nowhere near enough if you're training really, really hard. The general consensus among my bodybuilding friends is that you need to eat around about it, for someone of my size, if you're 200-pound person, which is about, what's that, 90 kilograms or something like that, 95 kilograms.
Yeah, it's about 90. And I think 90 pounds is
No,
198. 90 kilos is 198 pounds, I think.
pounds, something
Something like
about around 90 kilo. I'm actually losing weight right now. I started this year at 92 kilos, and I'm about 88 now. Yeah, roughly around my weight, you've got to eat about 200 grams of protein a day, which equates to about 2 pounds of lean meat, and that's more than what most people would think is, that's 4 meals a day of about 250 grams of lean meat. Okay, now it's not disgusting. It's not like, wow. I mean, how often do we go out and have a 250 gram steak? Like anything smaller than that, you think they're ripping you off. But what it does is it makes you think, okay, well, there's no room for a meal throughout the day that doesn't have 250 grams of lean meat. And this is one thing that I find really interesting, which is a very common difference among someone who has a very good physique, the front of a cover magazine physique, or a fitness model physique, or a figure model physique that, let's be real, just about everyone that's looking at Instagram scouring exercise videos aspires to. The one thing that they all have in common is that they treat every meal the same. There's no difference between breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We had this great conversation with Aaron McKenzie the other day on our podcast, and that's one of the things he said. I treat every meal the same. Like, I get up, and the first meal of the day is meat and some veggies and some carbohydrate. And the second meal of the day is some meat, some veggies, and some carbohydrate, and fat, and the third
the
meal
better
of the day
people
is the
look,
same.
and the better people look, the more similar every single meal looks. Like,
Looks like, yeah.
you know, I've a friend of ours, Ben Pekulski, who's a ex Mr. Olympia athlete.
And
You know, one of the
top 10
one of
Olympia
top 10
bodybuilder.
Mr. Olympia, like literally one of the top 10 physiques in the world. And when you see what when he posts about food, and whenever we go out and eat with him, you know, he's always posting some type of protein source, and just broccoli and a couple of greens, and it's always the same. And he says, you notice in my meal posts that I'm always posting the same thing. And then Alex Hormozi, somebody that we follow, who most people in the fitness industry probably don't know because he's more about business, but he's got a seriously impressive physique because he made his millions as a gym owner. And I just watched a video of him saying, I eat the same thing all the time, every meal, you know, that's what happens. And yeah, look, unfortunately, I think
not the exact same like meat and things like that. You know, they'll eat different. They might eat chicken in this. They might eat,
yeah,
but
of course.
if you look at the plate, it's the same. You know, and
Yep.
and the general rule is that 1 pound of lean meat equals roughly, give or take, 100 grams of protein. And so once you start that is like the best life hack that I could ever give you. If you take that into consideration, and you should simplify it, because you know when you start to get really complicated, you know, there's
Are
4
you sure?
calories in a
I'm pretty sure there's a bit
yeah.
more. So hang on, 1 pound of meat equals 100 grams of protein.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
Sorry,
it's
I'm
very accurate.
weighing it
Like
up
I went
in
on
grams
Calorie
and
King and
kilos.
threw in like elk, I threw in chicken, and it's like it varies about you know, give or take a tiny little bit. There's a fudge factor of about
Yeah,
1%,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
but it's very accurate.
yep.
And you know, if you want to get like stupidly scientific about it, then you know, but you can't. There's no point, because in every slice of meat, no matter how lean it is, there's always a little bit of fat, and so the calorie, you know, yeah, a gram of protein has 4 calories, but you'll never eat a gram of protein without eating a little bit of fat, you know. And so people like Alex and other bodybuilders will make a gram of protein 5 calories. They work it out that way, because that allows for the little bit of fat that you're going to eat in there and things like that, you know. So there's these very simple formulas that bodybuilders use, but when it comes to building a physique, a performance-based physique, you know, there's few people that know more about it than bodybuilders. You know, like these guys have turned it into a lifestyle, and they're very good at it. You know, there's healthy and unhealthy ways of doing it. You know, which I won't go into today. But you know, when you're looking at dosages, you got to figure out something that you can just walk into the supermarket and figure out. And when you're making a meal, you don't have to sit there with scales and all sorts of stuff. You want to be able to look at the package. You know, yesterday last night for dinner I had Atlantic salmon fillets. I had 2 fillets of salmon. It was 270 grams of protein. That's what I need. I know I need to do that 4 times a day. I do one of those meals a day as a liquid meal, which is a smoothie where I put 3 eggs in, I put some protein powder, I put some creatine, I put, you know, some berries and whatever else. But every single meal, I'm hitting my protein needs, you know, and I need to hit roughly about 50 grams of protein 4 times a day. And then everything else is built around that. You know, the veggies, the carbohydrate, everything else is added to that. And I know that for my physique goals and for what I want to do, I am aiming to consume around 3,000 calories a day, and that's roughly 1,800 calories are coming from my protein. So I want to, sorry, that's not true. Roughly 900 calories are coming from my protein. So that gives me around 2,200 calories that I can consume every day from carbohydrates and fats. And I choose whole food carbohydrates as much as possible, because otherwise I probably overeat. And yeah, I work it out quite easily from there. But it all is built around that 900 to 1,000 calories a day from protein. That's the first thing that I aim to hit. And then I know from there what I'm trying to do. And we've got some really cool, simple formulas in our peak performance program that allow you in 10 minutes of learning to figure out exactly how you should build your diet to suit your goal, to suit your goal weight, whether it's to gain muscle mass or lose body fat. And it's all built. It's always built around diet. In fact, a 28-day Kickstart weight loss program, our peak performance athletic development program, and our 12-month transformation programs, every single diet has one thing in common. Guess what that is? You can answer it, Rad or Richie.
They all, they're all. Are you talking about calorie restriction?
No, they're all built around protein. I was hoping that you'd just run with that.
Protein. How many grams of protein should you eat every day? All of them.
All of the protein. All of the protein.
Mark's asked a really great question just before we get off this show in the Movement Mastermind group. He said, to confirm, you are consuming raw eggs in your shake. I haven't tried that yet, but feel like that would upset my stomach. Absolutely, we are consuming raw eggs in our shake. I have a minimum of 1 shake a day with 6 raw eggs in it. I've just had mine just before we started this show. And often I have 2 a day. And why do I do that? Because eggs are a superfood. Eggs are basically like a little walking vitamin bomb that just are a complete, just the complete package. They've just got everything that your body needs in them. And each egg, depending on the size of it, contains about 5 or 6 grams of protein, which brings me to the next point. Why, like when people say, oh yeah, I have eggs, I have 2 eggs. And I say, oh, well, that's great, but that's not even scratching the surface of what your body requires in order to thrive and build muscle. So 6 eggs, depending on the size of the egg, is going to have about 30 to 36 grams of protein in it. My protein requirements, minimum protein requirements based on my size is about 36 grams. So I'm hitting that minimum requirement there. And it's just so easy. It is such an easy way.
Remember, minimum requirement. That's survival requirement. That's not, I'm going to build huge amounts of muscle requirement.
And if you do want eggs in your diet, you don't need to have them raw. You can have them boiled or whatever. It's not a necessity, but it's an easy way of consuming it for Rad.
It's not at all, but yeah, that's the reason why Yanni and I do it. It's just so easy. And you know what, Mark, everything that you just said there, I think what I'd like to highlight is haven't tried that, but I feel like that would upset my stomach. Yes, you feel that, you think that, but you certainly don't know that. And I had a story that played out. I'm interested to find
out where that feeling comes from, Mark.
Yep. Well, I mean, because everyone I think has been taught, eating eggs can cause, sickness. So I think that's probably it. It's probably this idea that if you don't have a great egg, if you have a bad egg in the batch, then you could get sick, and that is true.
Yeah, don't eat an off egg.
Don't eat a bad egg. Unfortunately, as well. Unfortunately, we've been told for generations that eggs are bad for cholesterol and can cause heart problems. And eggs, at least in Australia, have been officially removed from the National Heart Foundation's list of foods to worry about. And also, cholesterol is a really, really misunderstood thing that when you speak to leading cardiologists, people like Dr. Ross Walker, which are the people that you really should be getting your information on if you want to understand anything about heart disease or strokes or anything like that. Don't go off old information from 30 years ago. Cardiovascular health. Don't go off information from 30 years ago. But if you speak to somebody like him, which Yanni and I have face to face, we know him. He'll tell you that cholesterol isn't a problem at all. It's other issues that are combined with cholesterol, which we won't go into now.
Just quickly, Mark's said something that's definitely important to address here. Causing salmonella poisoning is why they are afraid to eat raw eggs, and it might be a US-based thing. Here's the catch, Mark, and this goes for everybody concerned. It does depend. The rates of salmonella in eggs and in poultry is dramatically increased when the chickens aren't exposed to vitamin D, sunlight. And so when you've got caged farmed eggs where the chickens are in coops that don't get allowed outside to get natural sunlight, then you do have higher rates of salmonella. And that happens in that mass production process. So what you're saying there does make sense. So what you need to do, here we go. He said, according to the CDC, the inside of eggs that appear normal can contain a germ called salmonella that can make you sick, especially if you eat raw or lightly cooked eggs. Eggs are safe when you cook and handle them properly. Yeah, only when you're mass producing eggs and you're doing it in a really unethical way. So yes, I would say if you're going to do this, guys, stick to free range eggs, non-caged production eggs. Otherwise, yeah, you could, I don't know. But we've been doing this for years, and that's something I take for granted. I only eat good, decent, high-quality eggs, and I would highly recommend that. I mean, that goes for all animal products, guys. It goes for all animal products. You should be eating free-range meat as well, because what happens in the grain-fed animal products is that the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio of fatty acids is the profile completely changes, and you end up with way too high omega-6 fatty acids, and that can become increasingly carcinogenic in your body. So when you're talking about, and this is actually another leg of this protein discussion that we probably should take, but at another time, because we need to get over to our coaching groups. But you want to be consuming free range, grass fed, healthy animal products wherever possible, especially if you're consuming them raw. I think that's all we got time for today. If you like this discussion,
we're definitely over time.
Give us a like and let us know in the comments, and we'll keep it going tomorrow. We'll be back here tomorrow. Monday. It's Friday here in Australia. We'll keep it going next week, and we'll talk to you a little bit more and possibly reveal some of the formulas we've got in our peak performance program, nutrition plan and diet to help you guys figure out what you need and what your body needs to not just survive, but thrive.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, guys.